always weird to watch like an NFL game on mute because I see a play go 3 times and I see Aaron Rodgers go down. I'm like, is he hurt? Like, and there's no context. I don't know.
Honestly, I haven't been paying too much attention to the game tonight. Hold on. Let me retract that statement.
It's fine. It's the first New England. I don't think anybody's
I've got Garrett Wilson on my fantasy team. So I'm hoping that Garrett Wilson gets some receptions and some touchdowns in order to give me some points. That's it.
We're missing the good night hug.
I know. I don't think that was meant for TV though. I don't think that was meant for viewers.
It was. Tell her to come back in like 2 minutes. Well, let's hurry up and get her on here so she can come back. So it's a sweet family moment. All right. I hesitated to think if we were going to do an intro tonight because this isn't a guest. This is more like of a co-host, and this is family. But we still gotta do our due diligence. So, Raj, our next guest, Kirby Smart has personally said that he watches his podcast every night before he goes.
I believe him. I believe him. This
past week at the halftime of the Kentucky game, he was the person that actually gave the speech to kind of get them pumped up and get ready for the game.
Gotcha.
Yep. And this little known fact because he turned down the honor, but the players actually voted him a team captain. But he turned it down because he didn't want to show up the players. Yes, that's just how great he is.
I can see that happening.
Welcome to the stage. How are we doing tonight, Randy?
Oh, God. You got to be kidding me.
That's right. You know we're here.
Oh my God.
How y'all doing?
This guy is so animated.
Randy is in a good mood. That is good. That is good to hear.
That's good news. But I did the show earlier tonight with Joe. You know, the SEC Powers Hour. I've already spent an hour on here wilding out on the internet for eternity. So I'm feeling pretty good. Hey, hold on one second. Before we get this thing rolling, I gotta say goodnight to the baby girl.
Yes. Oh yeah, tell her we said goodnight. Yeah, of course.
Come on in, baby. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
How sweet.
You want to wave? You want to say hello?
Good night.
Hey, good night.
Say good night.
Good night.
There you go. Have a good one. That was Riley, everybody. Little Miss Riley.
Nice to meet you, Riley.
Very nice.
We're still not going to take it easy on Randy, though. We're not going to.
That's fine. She would call you out if you did. That's what I'll say about
that. There you go. Yeah. So we should be a little more afraid of Riley than Randy. Is that what you're saying?
Most days. Yeah. Probably. But you know what? We all can gather around one thing, even though we're here to talk Georgia and Alabama.
Auburn.
Right?
Yes.
You agree with me?
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
They
there
do.
is no vote needed.
Although they did put in their freshman QB, and he kind of helped them win that last game, but they got a tough road going forward, and Auburn still sucks. And I'm fine with
what you talking about, Willis?
Randy has been on the computer.
Oh man, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, y'all. For real.
Not on that subject, but was Auburn in your overrated or underrated, underachiever group?
I had them as my underachiever of the year in the league, which flew in the face of like everybody else's opinion, including Nick Saban's. And after the first 3 weeks of the season, I said it on my show. I'm like, or on the SEC Powers Hour, talking to Joe. I'm like, here we are. Right about now, I look every bit as smart as Nick Saban does because he said they were going to be the overachieving team.
He did.
Yeah.
And they were struggling mightily. Now, this freshman, I don't know anything about the cat. So if he can throw the ball down the field, then I guess he's an improvement.
The only thing I know about him is that he went to Lipscomb in Tennessee, which is a pretty good school up there and pretty good high school in Tennessee. But other than that, I mean, I don't think they had anything to lose by putting him in there because Peyton Thorne was Peyton Thorne. So
true.
Yeah.
This is, they can only go up from here.
Yeah. I'm with you.
The Auburn podcasters were like, I don't see where we can go from here. They're like, at least throw him out there so he gets some experience for next year. But the Peyton Thorne experience is over. So. Well,
I'm sure Auburn fans won't mind that at all. There are actually a couple of Auburn people that, we've done some work together for pods and stuff. And and I know some Auburn people that, have been really cool, got some of my family. But man, I tell you what, I know y'all don't like Auburn, but obviously Georgia Auburn is the Deep South's oldest rivalry.
Right.
And in this house, I think we all know how much I adore the Florida Gators. But The other half of this pairing over here, Mrs. Beast, for her, that hatred is deep and wide for Auburn. She does not like the word Plainsman Eagle people.
Yeah.
So we try to keep it civil, but that for the most
it's
part,
tough at times.
No love.
It is.
Yep. An Auburn guy actually did my wedding, so it's not total, but it is interesting because I knew him from Germany.
From when we lived overseas.
Yes, way back in the day. So we kind of reconnected back here, and he lives in Birmingham also. And now he's like die-hard Auburn. And I'm like, where did this come from? Like, you didn't move to Auburn. And when I say die-hard, like watching an Alabama game, hating everything that's going on, blaming the refs and the society.
Anytime Alabama makes a mistake, he goes straight to Facebook. It's, oh, wow, he just dropped the pass. I thought this team was supposed to be that good. Even if we win 55-7, he's posting and posting and posting and posting. So
see, and y'all give me a hard time. And I'm just trying, but I do know some folks like that. Yeah. But I don't know anybody like that as intimately as apparently you guys know this fella. The people who do that to me, if I'm taking incoming from those type folks, it's random strangers, that I've never met. So No, so it's different.
We give you a hard time, Randy, but he's like we don't have a group chat with him. Let's just say that much because we would have had to kick him out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind if you root for your team, but it can't be like to the point of you ignore. I remember Alabama and LSU went to overtime one time, and LSU, I think we won the toss, and of course you take the ball last in overtime. Oh my God, they're taking the ball last. This is a conspiracy. They're trying to help Alabama. I said,
I'm like, come on,
they flip a coin. I know it was LSU took the ball last, and he tried to call it some conspiracy that he was giving us the ball. I said, that's what every overtime team does. I don't even know how this is a thing. So
is he going to watch this show tonight? You think he's going to watch this show?
No. Probably I think he's subscribed and probably never gets any notifications.
He doesn't tune into any of the Tuesday night pods either. So
okay. Well, I'll tell you what. This is, like I said, this is in perpetuity. It's out there for public consumption. So what you guys ought to do, if you're willing to take whatever blowback may come, is send him a link to this video. Right? Because I've already jabbed Auburn at least once. And while I'm at it, I've got their new theme song at my fingertips right here. The Auburn fan base, they don't even know it yet. They know it, but they don't know it. You want me to break it out for you?
Of course.
Yes.
Lowered expectations. One of my favorite skits, by the way.
Wasn't that Mad TV back when Mad TV first came out? Was it?
It sure is. And you can send this to your friend. Just send this to your friend and hit him with a little Taylor Swift reference. Calm down. You're being too loud. Tell him to say less. Just say less. And we'll see how the season plays out.
We're definitely going to send it to him.
Oh, yeah. And shout out to Mike. So when you do get this link, Mike, we appreciate you, man. Miss you. And
nothing but love for you, Mike.
Nothing but love. He did my wedding, so it's got to be love. It's got to be love. Let's say hello to a couple of people real quick, and we'll kind of get into what we really came to. Kat, one of our favorite people out there, helped out, Roll Tide.
One half of the Alpha Pool. We appreciate you for jumping on.
Tim, so Joe told me to tell. Joe didn't even have to tell me that. Like, that's a given. I think if he picked Alabama, I would call him up and just see if he was okay. Like, Joe, what's going on?
I just now figured out at this interface. I clicked open the comments, and I was pleasantly surprised that our good friends who were with us over here earlier tonight doing that SEC Powers Hour, we were like, y'all come see us. And here they are. So I'm happy to see y'all here. Thanks so much.
Jay. I always see Jay in the chat, man. Jay,
that's a pretty popular name. Yeah. Shout out to Jay. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone for joining us, to be honest.
225 girl. Randy got some shots out in there. And I think somebody said good night. Okay. Hey, Randy, I would like to tell Herb and Rodg hello. We see you, Tim. Appreciate you saying it.
Appreciate you, Tim.
Good folks over there.
Yep. All right. So kind of what we were going to get to. We're tonight kind of take the and for those that don't know, this is as you can see in the title, Alabama Georgia crossover event. Randy kind of came to us and said, what do you guys want to do for the games, man? Like what's going on? Been a long time friend of ours, probably one of the biggest supporters on air and off air. It's really kind of helped push us forward as we've moved along, and it's like, man, anytime you can get Randy on camera, we're definitely doing it.
Let's do it.
So this week we're focusing a little bit more on where everybody feels like their team is, how we are going into the bye, how we're coping on a Saturday with no games, because that can be tough for us. And next week, you join us in the same time. We're going to get more into the nuts and bolts of the game, how we think it's going to play out, how we would like to play out, and finally some picks and predictions. So, Randy, we're going to start with you because we know you had a little bit of a lull, I'll call it, earlier this week when you were thinking about your team, which is funny because like that wasn't from us at all. We're like, Georgia's still Georgia. You know, you said it perfectly yesterday in kind of your intro stuff. You go through games like this in the SEC. You know, you go through, I would almost even say Kentucky overlooked South Carolina because they were like, we want
They're ready for the Georgia game.
And I feel like those are the kind of things that happens in the SEC. We have a lot of physical teams down there. But anyway, I'm talking too much. Randy, we know that you kind of went through that, but like now that we've kind of recalibrated and stuff, how are you feeling about your team going into the bye?
Man, I told everybody. I tried to tell you guys, and I'm being sincere, and I really think y'all didn't understand what I was trying to express.
Because you're Georgia.
I know.
I didn't believe anything you were saying. I was just like, clearly, what is this?
But I was sincerely like, it's like I said yesterday on the pod, right? The live stream. I'm like, here's the thing. My fan brain just took over. Like I didn't have any analytical skills at all. Like I just removed myself, took off my work hat entirely. And I was just sitting there watching it as a fan. And I'm like, this is frustrating. And I don't know if it's because, and I walked through a lot of this stuff in the show, but I don't know when I went back and watched again, I'm like, did this make me feel better? Or does it make me feel worse? Because now I'm looking at it through a different lens. And at least when I looked at it through a different lens, I could make sense of it more. And I addressed it a little bit tonight because the thing about being a fan is you and I didn't lift one weight. We didn't break one sweat. We didn't bleed anywhere on that grass. So when Georgia plays the way they played this past weekend, essentially, that's what I come back to as sort of like my saving grace. I'm like, I'm a fan. If I'm upset, then of course these dudes are upset, right? They know they want to do something else. They want to play better. And it's just one of those things where I sort of reined myself in. And you're right. I still believe what the other, 51 weeks of the year have shown me about this team. And I'm not going to say that they were looking ahead or anything like that, but I can't say that they weren't, right? I'm not leaning on that as an excuse to make myself feel better, but I can't say that they weren't. And I do give Kentucky a lot of credit. I said all off season, leading into the season, during my preseason picks, all of it. The Kentucky defense is a problem. And if they play well, they can stand in there with anybody. And then they get all fired, they get embarrassed, then they get all fired up and feel like they got something, to show, to prove. In Georgia, they just had to deal with it. And then Georgia played bad. Don't mistake that part. They did not play well at all. Even the defense, which saved the bacon, that there were freshmen all over that field because of the injuries that I was lamenting to you guys about in the group chat. I'm like, there is a real vulnerability here. And if Georgia doesn't get the boat right, if they don't figure it out, if they don't feel better, they're going to roll into Tuscaloosa and take an ass whipping. That's what's going to happen. And you guys don't want to assume that, I know, but I'm just telling you, that's how it's going to go down unless Georgia gets some things right between now and then.
Right. Let me get real quick before you say what you're going to say, Rod. Let me give him a little bit of his backup in there. You've got some folks in the chat, and I feel like some of these are maybe going somewhere else, and like I'm not seeing all of them possibly because I feel like some
in the comments or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. So I'm not sure. I don't want anybody to think I'm skipping them, but I see some. So Side says we're the thorn in their side. So girl said y'all played a vanilla. Yeah, Cat. That's what we told them. Rat poison. We don't listen to any of it. We know Georgia.
Speaking of rat poison, since Saban has officially retired, obviously, do we need to coin that phrase? Give that phrase a new term or something more DeBoer-esque? as opposed to rat
DeBoer-esque.
poison.
I don't know. What do they have in Washington that's...
I don't know. Let's think about that, Herb. Something more, a little more
duck
modern.
poison? Is that...
No, we're not doing doing
I'm sure they're rats in Oregon or Washington.
I'm just throwing the idea out there. If Saban coined the rat poison phrase, let's see what do you think DeBoer would say? Let's think on that, Herb, and we'll figure that out. Maybe in our next production meeting or something.
We'll break that over. I switched over to the dog side. The side's definitely hoping they get out. No, we don't. And this is the cat one. We don't want to upset Georgia, but that's what there you go, Rod. Husky droppings. Come on. That's gold.
I kind of like that one. That
is gold.
Cat, congratulations. It is now officially Husky. Wow.
I like it. it. So Raj, kind of along those same lines with what he's talking about, why don't you kind of give us the pulse of where Alabama fans are at kind of going into this game?
Where I am or where Alabama fans are?
Wow. Why don't you give me both then, Raj? Tell me where you think it is. And Randy Lack, because he always knows that we're the rational ones. We don't get too high or too low as far as things go.
It's the only way I could be here, man. That's the only way I can be here.
Okay, Alabama fans, that's a short one. I feel like Alabama fans are pleased with what we've seen so far, maybe with the exception of the South Florida game, obviously. That game just didn't go as we thought it would. We didn't think we were going to have a repeat of 2023, but to be honest, it was a repeat of 2023. And even though you look at the end score 42-16, some people might think, oh, Alabama really, really whooped their butts. But that's not how the game played out. We won it in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
How I feel right now is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfectly pleased, I'm about a 7, maybe almost a 7.5. I'm excited. I was really, really anxious coming into the season, more on the defensive end to see how the defense was going to look under Kane Wommack's scheme. Very, very pleased with how they looked in game one, although it was Western Kentucky and TJ Finley, who we played several times prior.
TJ is just going to move schools until he wins a game against
I don't know. When he transferred to Western Kentucky, did he not look at the schedule and say, "Oh, I got to play them again"? Or did that not register in his head? But he threw us 2 interceptions, so thank you, TJ Finley. Game one, our defense looked really, really hungry. We got Keon Sabb had the 2 interceptions, had some turnovers, a couple of sacks in that game. I was excited to see Ryan Williams get some production. I had even mentioned to some people prior to the season, I didn't know how much playing time Ryan Williams would get because we had Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law. Obviously, we got the transfer in Jeremy Bernard. We had other people who were experienced, in the wide receiver core. But hey, obviously Ryan Williams has done what he's done, 4 touchdowns in 3 games. Pleased there. Then game 2, South Florida. I don't know what happened. South Florida, I just don't know what happened. We played 3 games of ugly football, won it in the fourth quarter. It is what it is. And I think the 3rd game at Wisconsin was my first game to kind of give us a decent gauge at where Alabama stood in the season because it was a road game going up north to Madison. We played good. Shouts out to Tyler Van Dyke. I hope he has a quick recovery. Don't ever want, regardless of the team you root for, you don't want to ever see anybody go through a tough injury like that. So hope he gets well soon. We played well. Offense played well. Defense played well. Now we're on the bye week. I'm antsy right now. I hate the fact that I don't get to watch us play Saturday. I've already looked over the slate of games.
My whole weekend is thrown off.
I've looked over the slate of games for tomorrow, Saturday, trying to figure out some games that I want to force myself to watch other than the Tennessee-Oklahoma game. I'll probably watch the USC-Michigan game if permitted. I mean, the family and everything. Got to do some stuff with them, probably run some errands. Other than that, I watch the Tennessee-Oklahoma game, and then that'll be it for that. But just really, really looking forward to going to next week. So I'm anxious. I'm anxious. One thing I do want to say is I don't want Alabama fans to judge next week's game based on how Kentucky or how Georgia played Kentucky. I don't want them saying, "Oh, well, they barely beat Kentucky. That's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen." And I understand that Randy's probably gonna say some stuff. He's gonna feed us some Husky droppings and kind of throw those thoughts. He's gonna try to fuel our thoughts into that, but it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna be that easy. It's gonna be one of the best games of the year. and I'm looking forward to it.
Bruh.
I gotta tell you, you guys, it's in my blood to be a journalist. So what I don't do is I don't watch a lot of other Georgia podcasts, and I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have time. Bottom line, so I've got the girls and just work and everything else. So I don't have time to watch them. But I do it also because I don't want their stuff, their thoughts, their ideas to bleed into my thoughts, right? So when I show up here or anywhere else, whatever you hear from me is whatever's rattling around inside my head. Right. And it's hopefully not influenced by the other stuff. Right. Now, with that said, I watch a lot of other people's stuff, meaning like I watch every Alabama athletics department video that they post in the run up to this game, right? I watch every Kentucky athletics department post in the run up to that game, but I put my hat on as a journalist and I'm like, these are pressers. What would I ask? What are they actually saying? That kind of stuff. So right. I'm just digging into the game. That's how I keep myself going over the course of the week, right? Leading up to the game. This 2-week period is brutal for that. I mean, at least it's Georgia and Alabama, so the programs are big enough that the media still has access. They still have stuff to talk about, so I can still go do that. But what I'm also doing with this 2-week layoff is I'm not watching so many Georgia shows, especially the straight up podcasts, but I am watching a lot of Alabama content just to get a feel for what the fans are thinking and what they're saying. And man, they are out there saying exactly what you said. They're already like, Georgia's dog water, look at them against Kentucky. This is not the same team. Yeah. I'm not telling you they're wrong. I'm just telling you that's what they're saying. So part of your fan base is absolutely out there saying that, if they don't beat Georgia by 3 touchdowns, then they were going to feel embarrassed. So there you go.
And
welcome to the SEC, Kalen.
And to Herb's point from earlier, keep in mind this was a road game for Georgia. In my personal opinion, should Georgia have beat them a little worse than they did? Yes, and I think we can all agree on that. It just didn't happen. It is a road game in Kentucky. Go back to 2023. Both Alabama and Georgia played at Jordan-Hare. Both Alabama and Georgia were better than Auburn last year. We had the better roster, better coaching, better everything. Both games came down to the wire. That is kind of an example of how road games in the SEC can go. Just because you're favored to win by 22 or 30 points, whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that's not always how it's going to play out. It's tough. It's tough in the SEC.
And I talked about that tonight on the Powers Hour because, believe it or not, I mean, finally, Oklahoma's going to play an SEC game this week. Right. But Texas still hasn't dipped a toe in the SEC waters. And I get it. Y'all are good programs, but life is just different over here. And it's gonna be closer than you think somewhere along the way. I have my eyes on like that Arkansas game for both of those teams. I know they play Oklahoma. I think they play Texas. They definitely play Oklahoma. I'm looking at Arkansas thinking, Arkansas's down, but get ready because if you think you're going to go play them and that's not going to be a snot bubble game, then you are thinking about it the wrong way.
Yep.
Yeah, November 16th.
There you go.
Texas at Arkansas. Yeah. And they're one of those teams. Like I remember last year when they were in a down year, and I'm talking to the guy I work with, Ricky, and I'm like, Arkansas. He's like, I don't know her. Arkansas is just one of those teams. And you look at November 16th where you've got nothing to lose. Arkansas's had a terrible season at that point. You never know what. That's the reverse flea flicker kind of game. The, playing for the team I want to transfer to kind of thing. Playing for my position next year. You just have no idea what's going to come out of that. So, I did want to give a couple shout outs to a couple people said, and that's what I agree. And it's probably good to have that out of the way early. That's why I don't, I don't put anything in there in any faith. Definitely want to give a shout out to Chris. Great guy. Got to be on Randy's show with him. Chris is actually going to join us next Tuesday on the broadcast to come on and talk some Georgia stuff. So next week you'll get a double dose of us for sure, Tuesday and Thursday. But yes, we've always said like we want to talk. So that's what it was. To echo your point earlier. We follow. There's 2 networks that we kind of follow: the Bama Standard Network and Way Outsides, and we try to support their programs. Otherwise, I don't listen to a lot of Alabama stuff. I feel like I'm gonna get it by accident already. And let's be honest, there's a large part of the fan base that grew up with Saban that has the same stuff to say. And I'm just like, that's not what this team is. It's not what that team is kind of even at the end of the Saban era. Like, we've got to stop thinking that everything is just, it's supposed to be this easy. It's supposed to be like whatever, you know, like the games are still the games. It's still in front of us. So I really like to listen to everyone else's stuff. So I'm kind of like you in that regard, Randy.
So I don't want to throw you off course here from your rundown, but while I've got you both, I want to ask you, and it doesn't have to take long, but when you look at Georgia right now, just succinctly, like elevator pitch, who are the Dogs right now, in your opinion?
So it's interesting because I remember someone I respect a lot telling me that the offense was going to be ahead of the defense going into this year. But I feel like they're still kind of the Georgia that I expect. The defense will come out and smash you. They're going to control the game. And the offense, because I feel like last year your offense kind of maybe got better as the year went on, but you also had, you got Brock Bowers. That's going to kind of fix any offensive problems that you have. I think the Auburn
ask
game
my Raiders.
Well, the Raiders, Brock Bowers is awesome, but the Raiders have so many other problems. Like,
he's having a good.
Will look good sometimes and terrible sometimes.
Bowers is having a good individual season, but again, when you're playing with the Raiders, I mean, you're not going to win a lot of games right now. So
they beat the Ravens, so I got to give them credit for that. So, but you know that we love Brock Bowers, maybe one of our favorite Georgia Bulldogs of all time. Yeah. I feel like this year it's just kind of like they're still trying to find out the main identity offense-wise. They're still trying to coming along on that side of the ball. So the defense is actually going to carry them until they kind of figure out, all right, this is what we want to do in this situation. This is that main playmaker that I can, go to. Like I said, in the Auburn game where Brock was like, all right, man, just give me the ball. I got this, that sort of situation. So when I look at Georgia, and that's why especially in an era of like really offense-based teams, I feel like they're going to be fine because their defense still sets the tone, and their offense isn't like, hey, if we don't go out and score 40, we're going to, lose this game. They're like, look, man, if we have a bad quarter or two, the defense is going to hold it down. So my thoughts on Georgia.
No, I feel the same way. I feel like defensively they're going to be the same Georgia that we're used to seeing, and just feel like offensively, I know that obviously Bowers is gone, so that safety net, if you want to use that term that Beck had last year, isn't there. And obviously Ladd McConkey's gone. So he's still trying to figure out his rhythm offensively, so to speak. And obviously Randy, Chris, you guys would know this a little more than we would. But defensively, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. They're the same team that we're used to seeing. Offensively, I think that's where we may have somewhat of a jump on them if we can kind of get our guys going and hit those big plays before you guys do, hopefully. We'll see next weekend.
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking, Randy, or is that answer?
No, I just genuinely want to know what you thought. Because when I look at Georgia over the first three games, I mean, obviously the Clemson game didn't start fast. They adjusted, figured it out, and you could see it in the play calling. You could see that they were running things in the first half to figure it out, and then play off of that in the second half. And then also Clemson's depth issue along the defense showed up, and Georgia did what they wanted to do in the second half. Nice win, nicely coached, well played, nice. Tennessee Tech is what it was, a team that was outmatched. We didn't get anybody hurt. Fantastic. And then you go to Kentucky, and it was the way that everything seemed disjointed. Because like I said, even the defense that won the game for them, they just had, again, they had 3 defensive linemen play 50-plus snaps. And in Georgia's situation, the way they like to roll them, you don't want your D linemen playing more than, say, 20, 25. And if they play more than that, then you are a man. Like, you are the stuff. You are Jalen Carter. You are Tyrone Walker. That's the kind of thing. It's unheard of for Georgia players to have to play that many snaps at that position. And if any one of those dudes had gone down, I mean, you're taking a big outside linebacker and asking him to put his hand in the dirt as a defensive end at that point. Like, they were razor thin, and Kentucky ran right at them for 2 reasons. One, they knew they couldn't outrun them, so they were going to have to run at them. And then you had those players playing a lot of snaps in the middle. Georgia missed 16 tackles by one count. It might have been more, but I'm going with like the PFF number. That number is unheard of. And then the discipline. Over the course of the first 3 games, Georgia's dead last in the league in terms of how many penalties they're having per game at 8.3. It's insane. These numbers are not numbers that Georgia teams typically have, right? The missed tackles, I mean, and the discipline from the penalties. So, I mean, some of those numbers, if you have 50 yards or less in penalties, that's just part of playing the game, the way Georgia plays it.
Yeah.
You're going to get called occasionally for PI, something like that. But when you get up around 8, or more, that's just uncharacteristic. So it's not that Georgia struggled, it's the way they struggled and the way that it seemed to be everywhere. However, at the end of the day, Carson Beck made enough plays in the fourth quarter to win. Trevor Etienne and the offensive line made enough plays to move the ball down the field, and they got the win. Jalen Walker wrecked enough plays, right? He and Damon Wilson and Gabe Harris and those dudes that I was talking about all off season, that second row of players, if they grow into their bodies and then do what I think they can do, can just wreck stuff. That's what happened, and Georgia got the win. So it's just that it all happened at once, Yeah, so who knows? Maybe they were looking ahead. Maybe I don't know. I'm trying to give Kentucky credit. I know they play, really good defense. They have NFL players over there. It was just the overall thing. It was just a perfect storm, maybe that led to that playing out the way it did. So, yeah, I was feeling rough earlier this week, but it was real. I wasn't shooting you guys a line of stuff. I'm telling you, man, I was bummed out. Yeah. But like I said, that was my fan brain. I clicked on my other brain, and now I don't feel as bad. But hang around, come back, see us next Thursday night.
We'll see what we're saying.
Yeah, because see who I'm going to pick in the thing. Because I know y'all think y'all know, but I'm just telling you.
I know. We'll find out next Thursday. I think I know for sure. I also think, man, though, first off, kids are human. And I think is a point you made yesterday when you talked about like how people talk on message boards and stuff. Because I had a guy last year arguing with me about Milroe, and I was like, this is why certain things happen. He's like, oh, what are you talking about? What I say doesn't affect the team. I'm like, you don't realize that these kids, they are kids to me because I'm twice the age of, all of them. Yeah. They are on social media more than anything else.
Yep.
And they see the comments that you're making, like that recruit that didn't go to your school and you guys decided to blast him and you wonder why he never reconsidered your school. And they saw South Carolina and Kentucky. Mm-hmm. They saw how that game went. They probably did just like Raj and I did on this pro. Oh, well, Kentucky's terrible.
Yep.
They didn't realize Kentucky might not be great, but the defense still shows up. And they were looking ahead to a game. Yep. And we would like to think with the bye week that Alabama and Georgia aren't looking ahead to each other. But come on, man. It's how many people were talking about that game before the season started, right? Let's be honest. Both teams kind of fast forwarded to the bye and said, this is the first.
Oh, yeah.
Game. We didn't think Clemson would test you at all, to be honest.
Yeah, we knew.
So we're thinking the first real game for both teams with a bye in front of it is this game. So you can't help them for thinking Kentucky's terrible. I can probably sleepwalk through this game. Now, am I saying that happened? I don't know.
Who knows?
I can't get in their heads.
Well,
but it feels that way.
Your point, every point you're making is completely valid. And I said it all off season. Our friend, Stephen M., just last night, I think it was last night, could have been today. I think it was last night on his show.
They're running together, Randy. They're running together.
They did. He was over there and he was saying what I'm saying. I'm like, Stephen, are you watching my show? No, he wasn't, because the trope is so obvious that it doesn't matter. Anything that happened the first quarter of this season doesn't matter to Georgia people for a couple of reasons, and to the national media for a big old reason. This is a referendum on Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. It's not even about Kalen DeBoer. It doesn't even matter that this is his first home SEC game. This game is a referendum on Kirby. Now, is that fair? No. Is that what Georgia fans should do? Hell no. But it's going to be, because it's just like Steven said yesterday. If Georgia doesn't win the game, now it's not a Saban problem. It's an Alabama problem. Kirby, why can't you beat Alabama? You crush everybody else 42, and if that goes down 3, right? That doesn't make any sense. Why can't you beat that team? And if you're a Georgia fan, the last thing you want to hear is from any Alabama fan saying, na, got you again, right? I mean, you just don't want to hear it. So They don't want any doubt. And I'm not saying that Georgia fans are wrong for that. I'm saying that you don't want there to be any doubt that you are now the lead dog in the conference. And the only way to do that is to go over there and beat Alabama. Forget the fact that we might have to play Alabama again or twice more this year. That doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It's just a referendum, fair or not, on Kirby and his program next Saturday. And Kirby knows it. Everybody knows it. That's your point, Herb. Everybody knows. So you got to go show up. So is Georgia going to show up and play tight? Right? If they do, that's not good. If Alabama going to show up and play loose because they're playing with house money, maybe. I mean, there's so many ways to slice this cake before we get there. So many things for people like me to be anxious about. You just, and if they win, if Georgia wins, okay, well, maybe Alabama's not, what they were, but give them a year or two. They'll build it. You know what I mean? So literally, Alabama's playing with house money here.
Oh, yeah. Randy, I'm going to make the thing that's going to make you mad is if Georgia wins, the first thing you're going to hear is, well, Saban's not there.
Right.
So it's like Kirby is in a lose-lose. So it's I mean,
and what I don't understand about that is some people act like we didn't lose games when Saban was here. Not necessarily the Georgia games, but just games in general. Even when Saban was here, we only had 2 undefeated seasons in 17 years. So if Kalen DeBoer loses the game, which is going to happen eventually, it is what it is. It's college football. We're not going to win everything. Don't attack him. Don't call for his job, and don't say things like, "Oh, Saban would have won that game," because Saban lost games too.
And he's saying that, Randy, because on the Alabama Standard show the other night, somebody's like, "Oh, if we lose to Georgia, is he going to be on the chopping block in Game 4 against the number 1 team in the country?" Yeah, I don't think so.
That right there, and you guys can go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry. One thing, what people need to also understand is that it wasn't easy to get DeBoer here too. Yeah. Like, there's not a long line of people waiting to take the Alabama coaching job for obvious reasons. So enjoy what we have. Let's enjoy it. Hopefully it lasts for a very, very long time. Hopefully we win a lot of national titles, etc. Hopefully we have a lot of success. Sorry, go ahead, Randy.
The thing about it is, and you guys know this better than anybody, is, again, look at where Georgia is. Like, we're not talking about anybody else right now. We're talking about Georgia and Alabama, okay? Don't give me Michigan. Don't give me Ohio State. No. We're talking about a program that's won 42 consecutive regular season games, 28 consecutive games inside the conference, right? 3 consecutive undefeated seasons, back-to-back national championships in the last 3 years, right? So that on the heels of what Alabama did for the previous 15 seasons, right? Multiple national championships, recruiting championships, SEC titles, all those things. These two teams are in a class by themselves if we're rattling off things like this. And the number 1 team in the country went on the road last week and won in the conference, fell in the rankings, and the fan base feels like it was a loss, right? So the Alabama fans are sitting over there, like you just said, completely unhinged from reality. The reality is these two programs are different than everybody else. Yeah. Let's just let it go, take a breath, and play this next big game. Yeah. That's the rational part. The irrational part is everything else, and it is way more like loud, right? All these other voices. It's just insane because perspective is everything. That's all I'm saying. And our perspective, yours and mine, is different right now than everybody else in college football. And inside our fan bases, there are people who are going to say crazy stuff. There's some cool stuff in the chat here. If you got to follow.
No. I want to make a quick comment on what you said, and then I want to get some comments out there from some people, definitely, because in my head I've also been like responding to a lot of these over here, and I want to play. But I did have to say this: the way that Georgia fans feel right now after the Kentucky game is how Alabama fans felt after the South Florida game. Yep. But it's like we forgot that game 100%. We're like, oh, Georgia's trash. I'm like, just last week we were go look at the Fed, what everybody was posting in the third quarter of that game. It's the same thing. Yeah, the final, and Rodg already said it, final score is not indicative of how the game was. Okay, that was a 1-point game in the fourth quarter, right? So but we felt the same way. So yeah, let me get a couple of these out because I'm way behind. I haven't stopped at the place where I did this. So, whenever we play each other, I'm always I'll tell you a story later about the live stream that almost was and that wasn't because of that. So, and this, by the way, could have been posted about either of our teams. So I don't know if you heard about our game. Like I know this is a Georgia comment, but this one you could just post up.
That's why I mentioned it earlier. I said we both went down there last year, and both games came down to the last second. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's also why I'm happy.
100%.
That's why I'm happy that DeBoer's first Iron Bowl is in Tuscaloosa. I don't want his first Iron Bowl being on the road in Jordan here, and then us possibly losing that game off for whatever reason, and then everybody's
the voodoo and Jordan here.
Yes.
Yep. I think if you think that Kirby's not going to have Georgia ready for this game, then you just haven't been paying attention to college football. That's what I feel like. So, where you got Texas and Oklahoma need to get used to not being. Yeah. Oh, I know. What people don't realize about playing in the SEC is it's not the Alabamas and the Georgias that are going to get you. It's the Mississippi States who've got, at least two guys on there that are going to make the NFL that are going to be pounding on you in the middle of the game. The games that you're not looking at, like, oh, we got Alabama next week. We'll handle Mississippi State, who come and punches. The Arkansas, who are even in a down year, can still beat you up. That's what I was trying to explain when we had the USC guy on there, and he was like, "Oh, your schedule." I was like, "It's because look at the rest of our schedule.
Yeah.
We're playing, a couple NFL caliber people every week, and that's where it gets you. People look at the wrong things. Oh, they don't even play Georgia this year. Yeah, okay, but the people they do play are physical. have you not seen the line for those guys? So yeah. So let's see. Had to change the channel for a while. I was so nervous. I guess I was about the Harvard game. Yep. And I guess Chris, sorry, Chris, I missed this one when you went out, but we will definitely
appreciate you, Chris,
with you next week and get your take on the game. For
I think Chris is still here. I think he's just saying what's up.
Did he just say it? Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. There we go. Missed it. Yep. Sorry. Like I said, I paused it where I had left off because I was like, I want to get to some of these people's comments. So
that's right, Carol.
Yep. I just think they haven't realized it yet. It's great to look good against all these other folks, but you got to get through a regular SEC schedule first.
Maybe y'all saw my TikTok where Quinn Ewers was like, "Yeah, we're going to be everybody's toughest game, even entering a new conference." And I put
I remember that one
Hart in there, and he's like, "They're going to learn today. You gonna find out. Come play in the league for a year. I understand you got a softer schedule, but you about to figure it out. I promise you."
And speaking of Quinn Ewers, looks like he's going to be out until I want to say maybe 3 more weeks. I don't know. I don't know if
he's not getting his job back.
I sort of want to pound my chest and say, see, I told you he was going to get hurt and Arch was going to play. Yeah. But see, and I did say that, but then again, it's nothing special. Who doesn't know that Quinn Ewers isn't going to make it through the year? That's his MO.
Yeah. My favorite thing about Ewers is I don't know if y'all have seen the Dr. Pepper commercial.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, call for backup. We're not calling for backup. I got this. What are you talking about?
Me.
Yeah, definitely, Chris. Looking forward to next week for sure. And Timmy gives a little a compliment. We appreciate that, man. Yeah,
appreciate it, Tim.
Yeah, I just don't think you can avoid that, especially when it's been publicized as much as it's been publicized. Like, how do you? You're going to tell, and we all make bad decisions, right? Imagine your 18-year-old decisions, like it's even more. And you see SportsCenter will be talking about it, and then Fox Sports and all this other stuff. So, there you go, Chris, breaking it down. Randy, the first question I saw on the day. I didn't realize how many comments behind I was. You want to answer this first? Or do you want to get a couple more comments?
My people showed up. They know what's going on.
They did. So, Raj, we're gonna have to chastise the Alabama people. Tell them to get.
We're gonna have to make some calls once this is over with.
Yeah,
we're getting
So my man Chris, he's like, all right, what are your thoughts? Here's the thing. And this is kind of what I wanted to have an opportunity. That's why I asked you guys earlier. What are your thoughts on Georgia? Because my thoughts, honestly, from the spring game, when I watched the Alabama spring game, and I know it's a spring game, but the same thoughts that I had there are the thoughts that I still have now, especially about Alabama's defense. And I'm not saying they're not good. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying they are different. And I don't know if that's a direct reflection of how they're being coached in this new scheme and what they're being asked to do, or if the edge is different because they don't have a guy like Saban driving them. And if you think that doesn't matter, I remember the teams under Coach Mark Richt, whom I loved, they did not have the same level of intensity or edge being the key word there, that they have under Kirby Smart, because he demands it. And the system that's in place at Georgia demand it. And it's just different. So when I watch this Alabama team here in the regular season, you can still see that they have players. That's not the point.
Yeah.
But what I do see is they don't seem to be as about it as those other Alabama teams used to be. They don't look as physical at the point of attack. Maybe they opt to not deliver a blow that in the past they absolutely would have. And so I'm not sure if it's the player or if it's the system and how they're being coached. So that's the thing that just jumped off the tape to me. Again, they got players. I'm not even trying to break down the scheme. I'm just saying that in the intangibles of the game, they look different. And obviously Chris is pointing out here, Rusaw, he was hurt, but I think he's coming back this week. And Malachi got hit in the head under concussion. I think he's coming back this week.
Fine,
So they're going to be there ready to rock and roll. And again, they have players. I do like, they have some guys that can get after the passer. So I still expect that to happen from Alabama. The place along the interior defensive line, they don't. And again, I'm not sure if it's how they're being coached and asked, like what they're being asked to do, or if it's that they are not doing it. So some of the names that I would know, is it Otis? It's Otis, right? Not
Otis. Yep.
Yeah. Like that is the name that I heard that was going to be like a wrecker in there. And what I've seen so far hasn't exactly been that. He's been more of a space eater as opposed to somebody who's resetting the line of scrimmage and penetrating into the backfield, So I'm like, all right, again, back to my question. What's he being asked to do versus what is he capable of doing? And so I've been sort of underwhelmed with that interior defensive line. And I know that our guy Stephen M has pointed out that they're concerned about the rush defense, right? So, and Nick himself was concerned about the back end, right? Who they got playing corner. Can anybody test them? That sort of stuff.
That's my concern.
Those are the treetop opinions. Those are my treetop opinions. Like, has anybody actually tested them in the pass game? I would say probably not. And we can see that they're not
probably about it. It would have been, just sorry to cut in there, but it's like that was the number one concern I had, honestly.
Secondary.
Watching our games is the back end. If South Florida had a better quarterback, we maybe lose that game. I don't think Wisconsin beats us, but they definitely would have had opportunities. So go ahead, Randy. I'm sorry, but that one jumps off the tape to me.
Yeah. So has anybody challenged them? Can anybody challenge them on the back end? And then that run defense, is what I'm seeing a lack of performance, or is it just what they're being asked to do? I'm just not sure. And so Georgia against Clemson, I would say that Georgia offensive line shows up. Maybe they can move Alabama's defensive front. Maybe they can hurt you in the run game. And then I saw how we botched it against Kentucky, whiffing on blocks all over the place, busted assignments, and I'm like, well, that team's not going to move Alabama. That team's not going to hurt them in the run game. So I think that's where this game's going to be determined. If Georgia shows you that they can run the football against Alabama, then I'm going to feel real good about that. Because I think in the long part of it, defensively, if you turn it around, Georgia has a plan for how they're going to attack Mill Road this year. And it's going to be different, I think, than what happened in that SEC championship game. And even if it's not drastically different, the people implementing the plan they had in the SEC championship game are much further along than they were. Because you guys had at least one touchdown in that game that was a direct result of an absolute bust by a true freshman linebacker. So those dudes aren't making those same mistakes right now, but I don't think it's going to be the same game plan. So I think they can, handle the Alabama offense. If you see Georgia run the football effectively, then I think it's going to be a good day to be a Bulldog.
Let's go ahead and that's a good segue into getting a couple more people in here. And Graham, looking forward to it. My boy Harry, I think this might be my favorite on your channel. No disrespect to everybody else, but Harry always seems like a good guy, man. Anytime Harry comes in, I know it's a good show that night. So.
That's right. And I didn't get to see him earlier, so it's good to see you, Harry, man. I'm glad you're here.
Bulldogs ready. Go Dawgs. Yep, Cat. They're all going to be saying it. They're ready. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna blow the doors off Kirby. Oh, I believe that 1,000%. You know, that's why, and I think that's one of the key points Raj and I had. Like, there's just no way that they're not ready for this game, and I have the utmost respect for Kirby Smart. So, yeah. Football. Fans of both teams are the harshest judges. Yes. It's so funny when you listen to guys talk about, because we have one that follows around the Bama standard, and it's just like they're not playing to the standard. This is how it, and I'm like, there's still kids out here playing the game. Like, at the very heart of it, you're putting all this into 18 and 19-year-olds and criticizing them based on
some of them 17-year-old.
Yeah.
We
have a 17-year-old. I hadn't heard that, Raj.
Every time Ryan
every
Williams
quarter of every game
Alabama
Alabama has played.
He's only 17. We know.
But think about it this way, too. Think about what you just said. Fans are talking about the standard. What standard, bro? You're sitting on the couch pounding the ruffles. That's not the standard. The standard, I'm just saying, talk about it respectfully. Don't talk about it like you own it. Give respect to the people who've earned it, right? Be respectful of the coaches and players that are doing it, live it. They know it. Yes. They know, bro. You don't need to tell them. If it's not right, those coaches are telling them. And if it's a really good team, their teamates are telling them. So just chill a little bit, right? Just calm down. And enjoy it a little. Carrie's got it. Casuals, that's what I'm talking about. Just calm down, man.
Sorry, Cat, too soon. Too soon. I guess I shouldn't have thrown out the Mississippi State one, but that is too soon. So.
Oh, man.
And this was back when we were talking about
going through some things right now, too. So, it's a little too soon for that one.
That's right, Carol. Ain't the Big 12, sister. You got it.
Yeah. Frozen Dr. Pepper. I was like, where did this go? Oh, yeah, we were talking about the air. So that shows you how far behind I am. So,
if you've been following all the comments, they're kind of going all over the place a little bit.
Well, like I said, I had stopped because I was like,
barbecue sauce I wanted something. I didn't know where that one was going at, but it was.
Wait, can we pause right here for 1 second? I just want to say I've only seen this poster once or twice. I appreciate that, man. That's awesome. I appreciate you throwing out a little support right there. I don't think I've ever had a chance to say thanks in person. So thank you.
Awesome.
Sound good. My friend put a peanut inside. Yeah. And I think, so this was one of the points that you made in what's going on with the team. I feel like we threw together a whole staff. I feel like half the staff is still getting to know the other half of the staff. You know, they've got kids that they tried to keep here and a couple of transfers. And I feel like they're still all kind of feeling each other out. So, because what we've heard about Womack is he can be a fiery guy. Yeah. But do I know that he is? Do I know that he's kind of with the kids like that? I don't know. Yeah. But I will say this, to be 1,000% honest. I know because of the teams we play, we've gotten away with it, but I have been underwhelmed by the defense so far.
I would say, oh, go ahead, Rain. I'm sorry.
Well, you're about to get to it here in the comments, but Chris is telling us he's breaking down the tape right now. He's looking at it for his channel about what Alabama's doing. And he talked about it on their show earlier, a little, the new scheme that Kane's running, and what do they call it? The swarm defense or something. Yep. So, I mean, you guys loving that, hating it? Or are we just not sure?
I loved it game one. Okay. Game one, and this goes kind of what Randy's point earlier.
I was just like, can we throw out game one for Alabama every year? Because I get way too excited. And then, last year, game two was Texas. So go ahead, though.
I loved it. I loved it game one because in game one, our defense showed the intensity that they had in previous years. They were all over the field. They were explosive. We were getting sacks, interceptions, etc. Game two, that swarm defense did not show up in the secondary. Our secondary was getting beat, and Herb alluded to it earlier. There were 3 passes in a row when I forgot the gentleman's name. South Florida's quarterback threw the ball. They attacked one of our freshman cornerbacks 3 times in a row. Luckily for us, the ball was overthrown, so they didn't catch it. But they were just attacking him. I think 2 of them were to Ray Morgan. One might have been to Xavier Brown, but I forget the third one. Yeah. But as far
Wisconsin
as that,
had one like that too as well.
They did.
So
they did.
That guy broke. Didn't even look like a great route. Just kind of looked like I curled in and hit there and beat 2 guys and just doesn't get a good throw. And it's the nature of things where you can remember everyone because, you do remember the negatives. But that's the difference. You know what I mean? Carson Beck hits that, you lose the Georgia game. Like, you know how it is. It's not the 20 plays. Sometimes it's you can break a game down and say, here's the 5 plays that won or lost the game. Sorry, Raj, I didn't mean to cut you off with that.
You're fine. You're fine. I was pretty much wrapping it up. But, I'm more focused on our secondary improving over the next few weeks. Obviously, I want them to be tier 1 next week with Georgia coming in. But over the next few weeks, I need our secondary to improve because another game going down the line that we're really going to need our secondary to step up is that Tennessee game. Going into Knoxville, with the way Nico's been throwing the ball these first 3 games, they're going to air it out. And we know Josh Heupel. He's going to try to run up the score as much as he can. And so we're really going to need the secondary to step it up there. As far as the run defense, obviously there's room for improvement. I think Herb and I can both agree on that. But we've seen different players, it seems like in each game, kind of step up. Last game for Wisconsin, it was LT Overton with the big sack and the fumble. It's been Keenan, Jahad Campbell, Otis has been playing well. Deontay Lawson has looked really, really good the entire season. So as far as our front four and our linebacking core, I'm okay. But the secondary is where there's a big fat question mark for me, and I just need to see a huge jump, especially for next week.
Awesome.
And tax for time, yeah. And I love the food ones. I like boiled peanuts.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. I was like, I haven't been keeping up with the boiled peanuts and all that. I don't know where we're going, but it's making me hungry.
Love them.
And that's the thing, Kat. That has definitely, I think where NIL has really also hurt in transfer portal is the teams don't have the depth that they once did. I think we all know of a couple of players where you're like, if you had just stayed, okay, you might not be starting, but you're getting like, I think people sometimes just get into this whole, if I'm not starting, I'm not going to be here. It's football. You just mentioned the rotation for Georgia's line. You're going to get playing time. And Saban said this, and I think Josh Jacobs was one of the key parts of this, getting drafted in the first round. The NFL, when they're watching your tape, if you only played 10 plays in a game, they're going to look at those 10 plays and break it down and see what kind of player you are. And Josh Jacobs did not have as many carries as most running backs coming out, if not all. Still got drafted in the first round because of what they saw was good. Brian Robinson waited his turn. Got in there, got drafted, 3rd, 4th round as a starting running back right now. The whole starter thing is overrated in football.
Same with Mac Jones, and Mac Jones might not be the best example right now. He's not the best,
but he
NFL
still got
career.
To the league.
He waited his turn behind Jalen, behind Tua, had that awesome 2020 year, got drafted, went to the Pro Bowl his rookie year, but after that, things just kind of went downhill.
I heard he retired after that. We're not talking about that.
No, it's like I've been talking about, and you guys probably heard me say it recently. Kirby, especially my presser breakdown videos, where Kirby, he is straight telling people, look, NFL at Georgia right now, NFL scouts care more about the 200 snaps you get in the 2-week period between the Kentucky game and the Alabama game. The 200 snaps you get at practice at the University of Georgia against top-tier talent, they care more about that than the 10, 20, 50 snaps you might get playing on a Saturday, especially if you're playing somewhere else, because the opposition that you play is so up and down that they don't have a good baseline about how to measure your abilities. Whereas when you're at a place like Georgia or Alabama, that's different. They can get a good gauge just by checking you out when you're going ones-on-ones on Wednesday. That's kind of how it is. And it's just it's frustrating when guys choose to leave, and then you hear through the grapevine that they're contacting the coach, or when they come back for pro day after their playing days are done in college, and they're like, man, I wish I hadn't left. I really wish I hadn't left, because I would have been in a better position.
The grass isn't always greener.
Somebody we're looking at right now, and all the people who went to Florida State.
I was just about to say, look at the 5 guys we lost to Florida State. I mean, look at their season right now. Haven't won a game, not really getting a lot of playing time, not a lot of production, period, especially when they go and, I mean, look who their quarterback is. But
and just a shout out again to the people that I'm familiar with who've come over here in the chat tonight. Notice the quality of these comments. These people are telling you, they're in here talking players down the depth chart and what it means. Again, look at who Kentucky had to face last week in Georgia. Those were true freshmen that are playing because of things like the NIL and the transfer portal. You've got players moving, and it's true. Georgia and Alabama don't have 8 4-stars now, right? That's not the way it works these days. You've got your starters, and then you've got good players, but instead of having 12 of those dudes, now you might have 6. And so it affects everybody, and that's just the cold hard reality of it. So it brings you back to can you play complementary football? Do you play the game the right way? And it just, I don't know, the age of the overreacting fan it just, I'm not sure if it's great for them right now or bad, because the swings that are going to happen in college football are going to cause your blood pressure to go up. And it's because of the realities of college football right now. You're going to play freshmen. You're going to have dudes that are busting stuff. And it's just going to be different. So either if you're addicted to the crisis, right? If you love that thrill, that rush you get from feeling in danger, like the meme, I'm in danger. If you dig that, then this might be the perfect kind of college football for you. You know,
but if you want your numbers break down, well, the thing you forgot in that numbers breakdown of the 6 that you have left, 2 of them are banged up, and so now you're down to 4 of those stars, and that's what you're rolling out there. So
that's right.
With that being said, I want to pose a question to you guys. Do you think with NIL and the transfer, and with transfer portal the way it is, do you think over the next few years we're going to start to see more and more freshmen get playing time, or do you think it's going to be dependent on the program?
My personal thought is you're going to see more freshmen playing for A, because you've lost other people, and B, there's a need to try to keep those freshmen around. Right. So it's kind of like, let me at least get you enough playing time to ensure that you're going to stay. And also I kind of need you at the same time. And then for if you're a mid-tier program who's trying to come up, that's great. But if you're an Alabama and a Georgia and teamers are expecting a national championship this year, it's not so great. Yeah. But it does help you, I think, that you have 12-team playoff now. You can afford a loss in week 5, in your 4th game in week 5, while you're getting those guys up to speed, as long as you see improvement down the road. Raj, the original one, you're absolutely going to see more freshmen because of those reasons.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more freshmen play. Now, the reasons behind why might be different at different schools. So like at Georgia's playing freshmen, turns out, because they had to in a couple of instances, but also because those dudes were just flat good enough to play, right? So you're going to see that at Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State. Look at Jeremiah Smith. Dudes that are dudes are going to play. Now, if you flip that over and you look at a program like UTSA, for example, wasn't it Texas, I think, took the top pass rusher in the nation last year, played at UTSA. Now he plays for Texas. Right. So at UTSA, you might have a freshman playing because you have 0 other options. Right. You had to replace that dude who improved his situation that you would have been counting on, because now he's going to play at Texas or Georgia or wherever. And, UTSA, we got to go get a guy who's going to play today. So he's playing for a different reason out of necessity. Whereas, at Georgia, Alabama, they're playing because they're just that dude. So, but I do think bottom line, you're going to see more of these freshmen play. And, honestly, that's fine. It's just that we just like resetting your opinions of what a good season is and what can be done had to be done because of the 12-team playoff. You have to reset your expectations in certain ways because of what we see in NIL and the transfer portal. It is having an effect, and the teams aren't going to look the same. And to cling to some standard that was established 10 years ago and think that today's going to be that kind of game and that kind of team, that's misguided at best and delusional at worst, depending on how far you want to take it.
Yeah. Agreed. And another name that comes to mind is Dylan Raiola from Nebraska. I really don't think Nebraska had any other choice, honestly. And obviously, he was pretty heralded, and he bounced around regarding the recruiting process: Ohio State, Georgia, or Georgia, Ohio State, I forget. And then he ended up at Nebraska. Right. But again, I just don't think they had any choice at the quarterback position. They had to take him.
Just look this year. I mean, obviously, you guys had Sayin who transferred out, right? But that's a little bit different. But maybe he would have been the guy next year, maybe. But look at we were talking about Raiola and what he did. Look at this year's class, Julian Lewis, right? The #1 recruit. That kid could end up playing at Indiana next year. Indiana, right? So you're like, why would he go to Indiana? Because he's motivated by a bunch of things that, aren't necessarily just going to play for Lincoln Riley or going to play for Kirby Smart. I mean, it's a different kind of world, man.
But I would say this,
he
Randy,
would be playing.
He will not finish his career at Indiana. I would almost guarantee. That's where it starts. That's not where it ends.
Well, there you go. And again, I'm loving the chat. I know we had other stuff we wanted to talk about, but the chat has been feeding us as far as what we were saying, and that's fine. And you know you got to put a rein on me because I'll go.
Oh, you're good. You're good. We'll shut it down a little bit. I do want to get to some more. We love the chat. So there have been shows where Raj and I talked before the show, and we were like, I don't really have it tonight. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. And the chat has carried the show. So I had to get to this one because I feel like this is ignoring what a job he's already done as a recruiter. And I hate to say this because, we love Milroe, but I feel like with the recruits we have coming in next year, DeBoer is already probably excited about what his offense is going to look like next year. And Carson didn't try at all. So that's the bottom rung. I think DeBoer hit the ground. Obviously, I'm an Alabama fan, so you can call, say what it is, but I feel like he hit the ground running.
No, he did.
The recruiting has already been awesome.
He did, and I feel like offensively we're already set up for the next few years. But defensively, there is one guy I would love to get, and he will be at the Bama-Georgia game. His name is Justice Terry. I would love if somehow I see Randy's face. I would love if we could somehow get this guy. I know he's from Georgia. Justice Terry, if you happen to be listening to the podcast, listen, man, Tuscaloosa is a great place, great town. We got some barbecue, great people. Just come on to Tuscaloosa if you're listening, man.
He might make that choice. Yeah. My money right now is that he doesn't. But he absolutely could. But you guys, I have him. I have a spot waiting for him in my 4 horsemen. Right, the 4 horsemen. They're waiting. I just got to drop him in there. I don't know if y'all recall that post. I did it a while back because I'm waiting because there's a couple of them already in there, but there's 2 more that are hanging out, and I'm just like, come on home, fellas, come on home.
We're waiting, and I know Keelan Russell. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to see if Randy wanted to touch this one because it was for Georgia with Bear.
Oh, about Bear.
They were talking about,
I forgot about that guy.
And Bear was kind of like one of those dudes with Raiola. And I'm not making a claim about it's good or bad, but he was a dude that had been to like 4 or 5 different high schools, and then he decommitted, came to Georgia, wanted to play, thought he could play more. He just didn't want to wait. And then USC was like, well, if you're unhappy, and they gave him an apartment and all this stuff, got him out there. And he's playing out there. Didn't have a great season last year. Yeah. That defense seems to be better this year. I still don't know that he's improving his position in any way if he wants to continue to play after college. Going back to what I said earlier about are you getting better every day, But that's the choices all these dudes have to make. And, that's just the way it is, man.
And sometimes it's other people in the ear too. They got family members that are telling them certain things like, hey, you should be sitting, you're way better than this guy. And then they end up transferring. And eventually, as Randy just said, that's the way it is. And eventually over time, they start to realize that maybe they weren't the person they thought they were. And maybe they should have stayed at their initial school and developed there and gotten better.
Well, it's not even just that. It's you might be outstanding, but who are you around? And now can you play on a team, right? Because if you are the one dude, now you're getting the double, triple teams. Whereas or double team, and then, they're scheming you. Whereas if you've got dudes all around you, then they can't, do that to you. And so you can have the opportunity to make more plays that way. But the bottom line was, in Bear's case, to be perfectly honest, he was behind a couple of dudes that if you looked at them, you're going to be like, oh, those are average college football players. But they won 2 national titles at the University of Georgia and were drafted into the NFL, right? They are playing. They're on NFL rosters now. And you were like, I'm better than them and I should be playing. Well, no, bro, you just had a little dose of reality that they're better than you. And you were a situational player until you grew into that other role, and he just didn't want to wait.
Yeah. I get that. All right, we're almost to the end of this part. So, and there's another follow-up on the Bear, Alexander Wayne Stoller, Isaiah Bond. Yeah. Honestly, I was okay with that with what we had coming in. That was one of those. Not, and he's been, he's done well at Texas, but I was okay with that one. Yeah.
I was okay because we still had Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law. We had names, and I knew we had recruited some receivers anyway. So when we lost him and Nyblack, I was like, we'll fill those positions. And bringing up Nyblack's name, from what I'm hearing, he fell down the depth chart at Texas. So again, the grass isn't always green.
He's been liking Alabama stuff, I think, on Instagram. And here was a follow up for you, Randy. Was there off the field issues with Bear?
I saw those, and there were rumors about things inside the locker room where those dudes that I was telling you got drafted because they were that kind of player were like, bro, that's not how we do it. This is how we do it. And he didn't want to have none of it. And yeah, I don't think they were too sad when he decided to leave, because things they could see it wasn't necessarily a good fit. And that's just the way it was. And again, I'm not even trying to hate on the kid. I'm just trying to look at it through the lens that they are forcing us to look at it through, which is I'm looking out for me and mine. Okay, well, as a Georgia fan, I'm looking out for me and mine being the team. And honestly, if they didn't feel great or didn't mind you leaving, then I don't really mind you leaving either. And I wish you the best.
I agree. So we finally reached the end of the comments, and thank you, honestly, thank you everyone. If I missed your comments, that was on me. That was not the comment itself. Sorry about that. I'll definitely do a better job in the future. Georgia fans showed out tonight, man. Raj, we got to get on the Bama fans.
Listen, man. Tomorrow morning, it's a little late now, but tomorrow morning we're getting on the phone. I'm gonna call everybody I can. Go through my phone. Hey, we got embarrassed tonight. Georgia fans were here. It was just me, Herb, and Cat, just hold down the fort.
Dude, I set the tone. We set when I broke out the battle hymn soloist. when I broke out the battle hymn soloist, I knew y'all were in trouble. Y'all didn't see that coming at all. That's just how that was going to get down.
Oh, always say it. And Randy, I think, said it perfectly first. He wouldn't come on the show if he didn't think that we were. Yeah. And we've always been that way. Anybody caught our summer series, we invited people from all teams, to come by and talk, man. We love the chats. We love the talk. And Randy's been good to us, man. We definitely appreciate it. So to wrap up, I do have to tell one story. Then we'll get Randy's last gauge on it. And I do have a couple questions for you, Randy.
Man, I'm all good. My babies are in bed. I got nothing else to do. I'm off today. So let's do it. I'm ready. Good.
All right. So somebody posted up there about how they feel about the game. Randy has been talking to us about doing live streams, and we see a lot of people, they do it, and you can't show the game on it, but you just show your reaction to the game. And of course, we had got to the point where doing it for the Georgia game would have been cool. Raj and I were actually going to be like watching the game together. Now, if you knew our history, though, the last couple of games that we watched together happened to be national championship games. Yes, before last year, were national championship games, and they didn't go our way. So my thought was, if we do our first live stream and it's Georgia, and I'm not feeling great going into the Georgia game, I don't want our first live stream to be disappointing. So that is the reason why we did not do one for the game. It would also have been weird, though, too, because we were on babysitting duty. So it would have been a lot of,
It was strange. I gotta wait for the kiddos to get they actually turn 14 months tomorrow.
Woohoo!
So I'm hoping once they get a little bigger, a little older, then we can get a little more excited. But right now, to Herb's point, whenever I watch a night game, I'm just like,
Cat, all right, Cat, that's me too, by the way. But Ray is the one who made our banner, and Ray, I apologize. I've been out today. I got here 20 minutes before the show today. So
Ray, we appreciate
definitely going to give you a shout out tomorrow when we're on there. But
nice.
Randy fussed at me about a banner, I think, like 6 months ago. So Ray, I appreciate you, man. And Big Mike is not in there. I haven't seen him tonight. I know they had their show right before this, so it might be late for him. But he does the rest of our graphics. So those guys have been getting us caught up.
See, and when I threw up the Four Horsemen reference, I'm like, "Where's Mike? He's gonna be. He's gonna know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the Four Horsemen."
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to text him and see where he is. We'll have to make sure he gets in here for next week to help back us up. So cool. Raj gave us his gauge on what his was the 7 for Alabama, I guess, going into it. If you had to put a number grade on how you feel after having a little bit of time to think about it, where are you at with Georgia coming into the bye week?
Okay. I actually posted this question on my community page this week. I'm like, how would you grade Georgia, A, B, C, or D, right? And the dominant grade was a B, just across the board, both offense and defense. And as like vanilla as that is, that's probably safe. That's probably safe. Probably a B, because it's just like you pointed out earlier. I truly expected, based on what we thought we knew about this team coming into the year, that the offense would have looked better than it has looked so far. But you know, the loss of 19 is real. The loss of 84 is real. And you have to find dudes that are going to take that role, right? I do think that Dominic Lovett has probably been by far the most consistent wide receiver Georgia's had, and has had the potential to be the most explosive. I still want to see the ball to go to 86 more. He had a great catch the other night against Kentucky. I just need the run game and the offensive line to sort themselves and then let Carson do his thing. So I have to say B. I would love to be able to say A. I'm overly impressed with what the defense has done so far, because everything I had hoped and had a question about regarding that youth that's on defense, like those true sophomore linebackers, the new dudes that are playing on the back end, true freshmen back there, guys that haven't played much, like Julio Humphrey, who is a 5-star dude now, but he's just never had a chance to play. And now you see him showing you, that's why you got 5 stars. So I'm really pleased with how they've come along and what they're doing. And then the guys that I talked about all summer, that second line on the defense, those outside linebackers and those linebackers, and how fast they are and the way that they can just wreck an offense if you turn them loose and let them go. And I know we're missing Michael Williams right now because of injury. He's probably going to be back to play against Alabama. He's the guy that everybody said, that's your All-American. That's the guy that could get to double-digit sacks. And Jalen Walker said, hold my beer, bro. I'm going to go out here and become a superstar over the first 3 games. Is he old enough to drink?
Is it hold my water, not hold my beer?
Well, you know, he's like, man, every time I go out there this season, I'm just trying to be the bread man. Because I look back at last year, saw all the money I left on the field. He's like, I'm going to go pick it up this year. And so far, that cat has just straight balled out. And if he continues to do that, and then you get a healthy Michael Williams who can be anything like we hope he can be, toss in Gabe Harris, Raylan Wilson, Damon Wilson, all these dudes, they are going to be a wrecking crew by the time we get to the end of the year. And I just feel super duper good about that, because what makes a good pass defense? A pass rush, right? Exactly. You get after the quarterback, then those dudes in the back end don't have to cover as long, can make plays on the errant rush throws, all that kind of stuff. If everything works the way a Dog fan wants it to work, by the time we get to the end of the year, they're going to be nasty. That's going to be a nasty unit over there. And you're right, Herb. Right now, they're holding the water for the offense, which is not the way I saw it was going to go down. Yeah. So, got to give a B. So, I don't know. What's a B? An 8? Like an 8.25.
I like the fact that you're talking about a defense that hasn't given up a touchdown as they could get better, because the rest of the college football world's excited at that thought.
Right. Well, right. No touchdowns in 4 games. They've allowed a total of 18 points so far. So on 6 field goals. Yeah, 6 field goals. And that was the other point, just to get a little statistics. Last year, Georgia inside the red zone, the low red zone, had a conversion rate that was horrid. Now, they didn't give up that many opportunities in the red zone, but when they did, teams scored touchdowns last year. And I think those cats took that personally. Right. And if you listen to guys like Jalen talk this year, he talked about it this week. He's like, we do whatever in the middle of the field, but we have decided we're going to do whatever it takes this year to make that low red zone thing look different. And so far they have. So if they just keep doing what they're doing and injuries don't bite us, given the age of NIL and transfer portal, everybody's thinner. So if we can, navigate that, then I feel like really good about that defense as we get down toward the end of the year.
I'm just glad that we're catching you now. Then, although the goal is to catch you later too, though, right? So
right,
see how that shakes out.
Right, exactly. I know that Bama fans want another shot at Texas. Texas is so easy to hate, dude. I'm just tired of hearing them talk. Y'all still haven't even played an SEC game. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Just come on in here. Water's fine.
Hold on, they got Louisiana Monroe this weekend. Oh man, it's gonna be a barn burner.
There you go. Arch is gonna throw for a bunch of touchdowns, and
then they're gonna start talking about his Heisman watch and all that mess. Yeah.
Speaking of the Heisman, and listen, I talked about Milroe being a great running back this weekend. I think y'all took umbrage that cat. Hey, first off, was I wrong? He's the best runner on your team. And I say that confidently because he's the best runner, especially the best running quarterback in the nation. I was complete love for that dude. And I just know that Georgia's got their hands full in trying to keep him in his cage in a couple of weeks. And, the thing about what Georgia's going to be able to do to navigate the threat that he poses, I talked about Georgia running the football earlier. If we flipped it around, there is nothing that's more important than being able to sort of keep him from just killing you, right? Because I heard, gosh, I don't remember who it was. It was some national voice, and they were talking about Milroe, and they're like, maybe it wasn't a national voice. I don't remember. Point is, they said Milroe is like your classic power hitter in baseball, right? Either he's killing you with a single, right? So it's 3rd and 8, he gets 9, right? So single, single, single. Or he's going to hit you for the 50-yard play, whether through the air or with a long run. So that's a home run, right? But he's not hitting many doubles. He's not throwing that 15-yard in and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So either he's just going to bleed you to death or he's going to hit you big. But he's not really just going to be a middling performance. That's not how he gets down. And if Georgia can figure that out, then I'll obviously feel better. But right now, that's one of the main points of concern for me is just him. And it's nothing but love for the dude because he has the skill set that can beat you by himself in some ways. Yeah,
that wasn't really because of you, Randy. It's because that's what we hear from our fan base when they're trying to insult him. Like the guy that I told you I was arguing with last year is like, we just need to move him to running back and put somebody else in. I said, you guys got to, like, can you just support the guy? You know, like, look, are there other true quarterbacks? Yeah, but is he is he our best option right now? And is he playing amazingly? Yeah. So why can't we just support him while he's out there?
That whole true quarterback thing, though, you don't even need a qualifier. Listen, if you look at the University of Georgia, what you see in Carson Beck right now is the last of him you're going to see at the University of Georgia. Every person that they have playing quarterback from now on is going to have a Stetson Bennett-like part of his game. That is going to be the future in Athens. So the dudes that are on campus right now, they have that ability. The guys that are committed right now, they have that ability. And everybody that they recruit going forward is going to have that ability. So that is the new true quarterback. The days of Peyton Manning and John Elway and Dan Marino and pocket passers, that is over.
Going away. Yep.
It is over. And you can step in there. It's such a no-brainer now that we're all more used to it, right? You want a dude that gives you options. And so that's just
I agree with you, Kat.
That's a misguided statement, right? Yeah. I mean, you can be a fantastic runner and still be a fantastic passer. Yeah. And it just depends on I didn't read that entire comment, but it was like if you can do your progressions and do all that stuff in the pocket and then make a play when it breaks down, who doesn't want that on their team? Yeah. Like everybody, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I just very well said.
That was one of the criticisms, even going back to last year, that he wasn't going through his progressions enough, and he was only looking at the deep ball. But this season,
I don't know if that's me or
no, that's well, Raj. I mean, okay. We're here, so I'm not sure what happened.
That's okay, I will say this too: third OC in 3 years for Milroe too. So people just need to pump the brakes on development. Okay,
fair. So, fair.
All right, Raj will finish his point when he gets back. So I do have 2 questions for you, Randy, before we're gonna let you get out of here. Okay. Work, play, live, ditch. Add it in the ditch. So this is the the work, who you work with, play, who you'll live next door is your neighbor. Work, play, live neighbor, play, go out with Friday nights, ditch. Whose phone call do you just send to voicemail when it comes in? Okay.
Yep, I watch your show every week. I know what's up.
Well, maybe that's more for if your crew is still around.
If you're new here, yeah. Okay.
Mark Richt, Kirby Smart, Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban.
All right, wait. I love all these choices, so I just got to be particular. Like it's the shell game. I just got to figure out who to put where. Okay, so where do I want to start? Okay. Mark Richt, Saban DeBoer. Okay, so this is hard because I sat in Coach Richt's office as a 22-year-old man who was talking to him about my professional future and whether or not there was a place for me at the University of Georgia inside the football program. And he was the most gracious individual you would have ever met.
Right. So
I have a really, really soft spot for Coach Mark Richt, just simply because of that interaction. You know what I mean? I would say I'm not passing up the opportunity to hang out with Coach Saban. How can I do it and be effective? All right. I am going to say that I would want to work with Coach Smart.
Figure that one.
Because
that's always a good choice.
Because he's so demanding, and I have such great appreciation for the way he has built his systems.
Yes.
And I'm actually, as a side note, I'm working on a project where I really dive into all this kind of stuff and explain it. So I'm going to say I want to work with Coach Smart, knowing that there are several ass chewings in there. So I'm just taking those. I'm just taking those.
And still trying to get the work done.
That's right. So I'm working with Coach Smart. All right. So now work, live, play, ditch. Okay. So let me live next to Mark Richt because he's going to keep to himself. He's not going to be in your business. He's not going to be in your business, right? And he's a good role model, so my children would get to know him. I would feel safe if he were in the front yard and they were playing. I would love that. So let me live next door to Coach Richt because that's a good thing. I feel safe and, good for conversation. He's kind of funny too. He's funnier than you might think he is. So Coach Mark Richt is my neighbor. And then let me go out and have a nice dinner and hopefully maybe some drinks at the bar afterwards with Coach Saban, because I want an opportunity to, in a casual setting, have a conversation with him about the way his brain works in terms of leadership and those sorts of things, and I'm sure he's got some great stories. He seems like a funnier dude than people give him credit for too. So let me go have a nice dinner with Coach. Coach Miss Terry can come. She can meet Mrs. Beast. It'll be fine. No disrespect. I got to send a Boer to voicemail though. You're just too new. You're just too new, brother. I need just too new.
Yeah. No, that's a fair choice. I like the way those broke down too.
I hope that didn't take too long. It felt like it took forever.
Well, I didn't give you an easy one though. So when they go quickly, that means they didn't have to think about this one. But you had to break this one down. And yes, have you seen the latest commercial? Don't take showers over 5 minutes. This isn't a spa like this. It sounds like Coach Saban. Grass is getting a little long. So
yeah. That's why I didn't want to live next to him. I'm like, don't be telling me to cut my grass, bro. You might like this one a little bit. HOA on purpose.
You might like this one then, and we've had a variation for several people. All right, just for the Alabama game only, you get to bring back one Georgia Bulldog, one offense, one defense.
Okay.
For this game and this game only, who you going with? And obviously, they come back. They're not at their current age. They're they're in their prime. They're back in their
peak.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't have to bring back a 50-year-old to come back into the game or anything like that.
Okay. And obviously, there's no time range on this. I can grab them from anywhere. It's fine.
You can grab them
anywhere.
When I do Alabama fans, I usually say the Saban era, just because we seem to know those players a lot better. And then, but for you, anybody.
Gotcha. Okay. So if I'm taking one defensive player that I think would make the most impact in this game against Alabama, I want number 29, Jarvis Jones, coming off that edge and just wrecking stuff because he played great against the run. He could get after the passer, had multi-year double-digit sacks. He's the dude. He was a dog for real. Like I want that cat. Because he's a big time player in a big time game. So give me him. I almost said somebody like a Pollock or maybe somebody from the recent years, but then I was like, no, Jarvis is the guy. Offensively, This one's more difficult. This one's more difficult because clearly there've been a ton of great players for Georgia, and Georgia has great players right now. But
I feel like there's an easy one now.
see, it is not easy for me. If I'm picking one dude to come back and make a big difference,
boy, Mike. What's up, Mike?
If I'm going to make one pick for an offensive boost for this game, give me
Come on.
Todd Gurley.
Oh,
give me Todd Gurley.
No,
that guy was about it, and he was a straight killer when he was on the field. Best player.
Cat. I wanted to hear it.
I know it could have been Bowers, but Bowers had his shot against Alabama a couple times, and you know, I'm not. I know.
He's just my favorite. He's my favorite. I just love the guy, man. I feel like if it wasn't for his position, you're talking top 5 draft pick easy.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. I'm not arguing with you at all here. I just, that's what I'm saying. It was hard for me to choose because I felt like there were a couple of options. Like I thought about a quarterback, I thought about a wide receiver. But at the end of the day, I saw what Gurley did when you gave him an opportunity on a big stage. And I thought that cat should have won the Heisman if he didn't get suspended. You know, in my mind, he might, I on a good day, I might put him on my Mount Rushmore of Georgia Bulldogs. So
I got you.
Depends on the day you catch me.
Randy, we're going to knock off here. Raj, I don't know if you just saw the text. His Wi-Fi went out, so he said we have to finish without him. So we'll have to make sure that is it for next year. That's what I was kind of catching up with. So
well, then let me leave you with this. I hope that the Wi-Fi goes out against my Georgia Bulldogs inside the stadium on Saban Field next week, and y'all can't finish either. That's what I hope happens. I hope you wilt late.
That is a fair comment. I would wish the same for y'all. Randy, we appreciate it, man. For those listening to the channel, we said we're back here Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central for the regular show. Chris will be joining us to make sure we don't trash the Bulldogs. And then we're doing this again next week.
And everybody, I see some Alabama people in here. Thank y'all for having me. Herb and Rodg, they were great for having me. I'm saying thank you to the commenters for being nice. You know, my head takes up a lot of space on the screen. Y'all are always nice to me, and I appreciate it. And so thanks for being nice, and thanks for being nice to everybody who came along with me over there. It looks like y'all have had some good conversations, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Title. That's our Title Tower guy. Appreciate you, man. And there, we'll give you Title Towel up always, brother. And there, we'll give you the last one there, Randy. Go Dawgs. So
nice.
Probably next you. I'll text you, Mike. I just text Mike too to tell him we needed him. Mike, we just got overwhelmed by Georgia people last night, so we need all those folks with us, man. That's all it is. Randy, we appreciate you, brother. Randy will be on next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central, or 5:55 for us Central. Mm-hmm. So I always got to remember to get the translations in there, and then we'll be back here next week, 9:00, breaking down the big game. Giving picks and everything. So yeah. So sorry, Herb, but yeah, Wednesday is the podcast stream, and then Thursday Joe's with me, and then of course we'll see you again Thursday night, late night. What is it? What should we call it? Herb and Rodg After Dark? Something, I don't know. Something late. I'll have to give it a better name this time. So I was frustrated when I was naming it last night because something was going wrong in the way I was posting this. So I gave up last night. By the way, I don't know where it was. I don't know where I saw it, but I saw a new image of a couple of Alabama dudes with Herb and Rodg on the. I love that new image. I might that should be everywhere. That's a cool image. That's our banner. That's what we said the Ray guy made. That's our banner. So we had a thumbnail for the show though, and it didn't show up, and our banner did. And I was like, can't be that mad because it still looks good. But Mike went through the trouble of making the thumbnail. But that's our actual banner. That's what you see on our YouTube page now. So, okay. Because it popped up. I'm like, why am I seeing this? This is cool. Why haven't I seen this before? So I'm glad we just got it maybe Tuesday night, and you see how my days have been. So I just haven't had a chance to really post out and do some stuff. So that's what I'll do with the bye week. But Randy, appreciate it, brother. Looking forward to next week. And everyone have a great night and roll Tide. Go Dogs.